I drive by Shauna's house every day, get excited for her, and obviously all that the women have been able to accomplish, stay alive in postseason play, be awesome today. Obviously, on a few sad notes, I know that we sent the release out this morning on David. It's something that we've been in a couple conversations, he and I, over the last several days, and then I think Friday, going home, being around him and his family, got a notification on Friday to Saturday that um, where this was going, and due to respect to him, and obviously several other things in play. And I just want to wish him and his family, like I said in the release, all the best. Not great timing for us, but obviously something unfortunately I've had a little bit of experience with. I always tell our coaches when I met with them this morning to inform them and kind of our plan moving forward through 16 years. Had to do this on a couple different occasions, been involved in situations similar. The one that I made reference to already back with our players or with our coaches. I haven't met with our players yet. Just when Ben Miller had his health issue, at that time, that was an early January, February. Kind of didn't know exactly where it was going, didn't know the time frame. Obviously, Ben's been able to come out of this thing full go and been positive. This one, I don't have the afforded luxury. I just needed to have a movement forward to have a plan. The next 3 weeks of spring ball, we're going to handle everything within our staff. I'm not going to bring anybody in as a new coach over the next 3 weeks. Just not time to do all that. I'll really take the last part of April and May. My phone's already been blowing up all over the place this morning. So focus on our team, our roster, our staff, get through these next 3 weeks. Going to be able to handle this no problem here in the building with a couple guys on our current staff that will be able to do that. Some of my former players. I got two former players on the defense side of the ball that have been analysts or GAs that have done a lot of coaching for me. We'll kind of absorb those responsibilities as it may play out, and then not outlawing the possible return of David in the future as well. If it was later on, possibly something as an analyst or anything like that. But just thinking of him, and then obviously Bret notified me this morning. I didn't have the privilege or honor to coach Vontae, but competed against him, and obviously some news coming out of there that give heart's prayers out to his family and all that goes into it. I know he's very close, very loved player here at the University of Illinois, and knew several people that crossed his path on the NFL level. So saddened by that. But as we all know, as this Illinois family, as we stay here going into our fourth year, we grow closer and closer to our fan base, and I understand the feelings from a lot of them, and also just people here in the building that were around him, people around our program. So difficult day in a couple of different regards. So with that, I'll turn on a little more upbeat. It is going into our third week. Got 2 really good weeks. Got 6 practices in. We have 9 remaining. Obviously, one with the spring game. Really, the next 3 weeks will go every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Our Saturdays will be an emphasis on a bigger practice. A lot of them will be all scrimmages. NCAA allows us to have 3 scrimmages. We haven't used an entire practice scrimmage yet, so we have 3 the next 3 Saturdays where that would be available. Have moved some guys around. I know you guys haven't seen this on the practice field in the last couple of practices, but have had a couple of guys within our position groups try new roles, new experiences, new opportunities. Have some guys go up the depth chart and experiencing some new roles. So really excited where they are. I thought offensively we continued to grow last week, especially at the quarterback. I think Luke has continued to grow. Donovan Leary, extremely pleased with where he's at and what he's been able to do. A couple guys, Kirkland Michel, Trey Petty, and even Cal Swanson have some positive things going on. I think our 2 running backs that are healthy, without a doubt. I think Aiden Lawfrey and Josh McCray really been impressive in the wide receiver room to continue to involve in development of Pat Bryant, but also Malik Elzy. Ashton Hollins had his best week here at the tight end room. Tanner Arkin, and really a couple guys, Cole Russ, Griffin Moore, all those guys really stepping up. So O-line has been a lot of different guys rolling through. Defensively, we're a little bit banged up, especially at the inside linebacker room, but some of our new players, I think Dennis Briggs has really shown and flashed. Daniel Brown on the edge, as well as our number of guys already in the outside linebacker room with Gabe and Seth and Alec have been very impressive. And then in the back end, some emergence of some of the new players. Chase Canada got back out there, and then the development of Caleb Patterson, Zach Toby, on the back end has been really impressive. So, and in special teams, I would say David Alano and Lane Hansen have really set themselves apart and doing some good things in the specialty room as well. So with that, I'll open up with questions and move forward.
Hey, Bret, just to clear it up, is Kevin Richardson that's stepping in, or who's stepping in to help you out?
Jeremy, I actually have had some conversations with, Aaron and Kevin, but also a guy that I, whether, he hasn't worked there. Grant Morgan is a guy that we were trying to get involved in the safety room. So I think there's going to be a little bit of that as well. What we did is, even when I hired David back in January, David, I, and Aaron sat down and we had been meeting as a group. Aaron had really led that entire group. And then when we went out on the field, David and Aaron had kind of either combined or split up offensively, the safeties and corners. So Aaron's going to tackle that whole room like he has been. And then he will if we use Kevin in that capacity, Kevin is an off the field assistant right now as an analyst. I would be able to activate him and put him into a role to be coaching on the field, but he would really just kind of be another defensive GA position and at this spot and see exactly where it goes. I like the fact that Aaron will literally truly be hands-on to all of that right now. And then I know I'll be able to come up with a plan post spring for us to move into the fall.
And understanding this secondary concern to David's health, but what is the challenge now for you to bring in a guy in the summer as opposed to having him here in the spring?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. It sounds probably just an easy answer to you, but for me as a head coach, it really truly, any of the things that I made transition after the season wasn't anything from a lack of timing. It was just really, I just felt it was a time to make a change that we wanted to do. Even just the people that have reached out to me this morning since the formal announcement, it's just blown away to how many good coaches that I know or that I'm familiar with, that people that are familiar with me that reached out right away. So I really don't have a set plan just because this is all so new, right? I just really been formulating over the last, week to 2 weeks and just to kind of have an understanding where I wanted to go. I'm really kind of playing off where we come out the spring, to be honest. We'll take a look at where we are on our final depth roster, just figure if I want someone more from a corner perspective, someone from a safety. Aaron's kind of ambidextrous. And then to be totally transparent, there's a pretty big piece of legislation that I've been planning on and building towards. If they allow these other coaches to be on the field coaching, there's a couple of coaches that I had reached out to that were currently in transition, people that I know very, very well that would have been able to step into a role to come in and help us on the field. And some of that comes into play now more than ever.
Thanks, Bret.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, first of all, please pass me along my thoughts for Coach, because
I appreciate it.
I kind of know where he is, or not exactly where he is, but I've been there, so I totally get it. Is this something that was kind of new to you, or is this something you were, I don't want to get into details, but just kind of how much timing you do have on this whole thing or not?
Yeah, I would, again, because of all the rules in play, this is a medical situation and HIPAA all that goes into it. I really can't speak anything more than I would say it's new, but not all that new. It's and for me, nothing really surprises me at any point in my life anymore. Unfortunately, as I've gotten older, right, and been around people and understand certain things that people go through in their world. Even when Ben's situation popped up, obviously my immediate concern was him and his family was here. The only thing that's a caveat, quite a bit different here, is David's family is down in Orlando, right? So there's just a whole different contours to that than anything else.
Like with Coach Miller, and obviously it's great, he's doing well. I assume this kind of gives you a different perspective on you want to win games and all that stuff, but it kind of adds a little, hey, this is life too type thing. Do you feel like that too?
I think anytime you're in our building, the element, it's not just a hashtag we use. Family means a lot to us. Right. So I think that for sure is there. There's definitely a perspective. You appreciate things on a great deal and more than ever. I think as you go through it, and then just also humbled and appreciative of the time we did have here. He's had a really good impact on people in the building, players, coaches, everything from A to Z. And again, if everything would turn out well on the backside, there's a very good chance that this could come back and he'd be with us in the fall in some other capacity. I can't put 120 people or a roster, and I was afforded a little bit of time in Ben's situation because I don't have that luxury here, right? So that's probably a driving force more than anything.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett, we talked last week just philosophically about, you and Aaron both did, about how you wanted all the DBs in the same meeting room and in the same place anyway. So philosophically, going back to where you'd done before you hired Ryan, does this really kind of eliminate or lessen the chaos of the rest of the spring for you guys?
It was more of I think, just a blessing in disguise now that we had that conversation, Aaron and I, when the season got done in December. He and I were on the road quite a bit together, and we talked about what we were looking for, where I was going. I had a short list of candidates at that time, and all of them kind of fit that bill. Obviously, I ultimately went with David and where it was, but we were really working a person, a figure, a coach, however you want to say it, someone to come in that would really, in my opinion, embody that, right? Because you can say all that, but sometimes it doesn't play out, and you got to have the right person in the room. So as it plays or way it stays right now, yes, it is really good. Even my conversations with Aaron this morning, just about where it was, I said, hey, the great thing is we'd already prepared for this moment, even though we didn't know what's coming, in a way that allows us to facilitate. And then really, even when there were a little bit of separation, although Kevin wasn't able to be on the field, he had been in all the meetings in there. So it was really and then for me, the room that I'm overly, I just know we got faces in there we haven't had, especially Xavier hasn't been able to go. That corner room is going to be a huge point to these next 3 weeks. And then, identifying where we are and what we need going into fall camp. So I think Aaron specifically will taper to that group more onto the field. Definitely out there in the meeting room, but more on the field than ever before.
Just a quick follow-up to the two, guys you mentioned, Kevin and Grant. It's got to be also just a blessing in disguise to be able to bring two guys back that played for you, know your system, know your philosophy, know how you like to get things done.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. One of the things that I did postseason, way back, the first or second week of January, I sat down, Grant Morgan and Alex Panos, and Alex had been with us a year ago. And then on the offense side, I transitioned two new guys, and we had specifically talked, Dish and I, about getting those guys involved on the field. Those are four really good young coaches. You want to see how they work and to grow Grant and to grow Alex. And then, Kevin Richardson had left and gone and worked in FCS football, came back a year ago. And, we had, even when the position was open before, we had some conversations, but just to get a feel for where we are right now, probably the biggest moment for us in the program. And obviously dealing with our kids and making them understand the moment as well.
Hey, Brett, just along those lines with your players, I know you said you haven't gotten a chance to meet with that room yet, but how do you kind of navigate them through a little bit more change coming their way since the end of last season?
I get it. There's going to be change, but Joey, I really do think Aaron's been at the front of that room really all spring, all fall. All spring, all winter, or winter meetings as well. So Aaron had really, because David was new, right? Aaron had really been the forefront of that, and they would meet a lot about really what to do on the field. But the meetings itself were a lot of Aaron at the front of the room, and Gibby was just commenting in the room and kind of filling in around it. So we were really transitioning through that this spring, and then in the fall we could kind of play off of where we felt they were. So it really isn't. It is, but it isn't going to be as big a deal, I think, to them probably now than ever before. So that's probably a blessing that I didn't know was coming.
And then logistically, obviously you had a lot of candidates that first time around. A lot's changed in the coaching carousel cycle since then. Are there any guys you feel like, I'm not asking you for names, Brett, but any guys you feel like you could revisit from that first time around, and like you have maybe a rough timeline after spring ball, how quickly you want to get this thing moving?
Yeah, full transparency, probably without a doubt, right? Like when I hired David, it was in that January window, but I knew it was just taking our time to process through where we were. That was probably a 2 to 3 week window of once I decided what we were going to do and what we were going to go about. But one of the things that I have benefited from in my time in this profession is one group of coaches that doesn't really coincide with college coaching is NFL coaches, and I have opened up a whole new Rolodex of people that I know and have been around that are in that world, and now that window changed considerably in February, and that's probably a window that wasn't open to me in January. That's one of the things I learned through my own transition is those two windows don't really work well together, and I think that's going to open up a few candidates. In addition to just bottom line, we have a really good job here, and the people that are reaching out. I think in today's world too, with college football, the expansion, 18 teams in the Big Ten, all the talk of the SEC and the Big Ten. Anybody that's not in those leagues, there's a lot of conversations that I've never really unprecedented in people that are reaching out to me about the job that we have, right? So, yeah, I'm not going to rush in anything. I've literally since whatever time that release went out, every time I get a text, I just forward it to one of the spots where I can copy it off and crop it off and throw it in a file and just kind of build off of that. So it's really it's been amazing, even just over the last 2 to 3 hours.
Thank you, Bret.
Coach, I know you weren't here, obviously, when Vontae Davis was here, but you coached against him. I think he played against the Wisconsin teams. What do you remember about him as a player? Was he a guy that you had to prepare for a little bit extra than some of the other guys?
Well, for me as a coach, right, that I competed against, I just saw an incredibly talented player. Very checked all the boxes. I knew he was going to be a great, not just a college player, but in the NFL. And then I would say more than anything, the passion, the intensity, the motor that he played with, and had some really good teams around him. And then to hear people talk about him, and then really when I was in the league, to have some people that cross over with him and all the things. Obviously, Coach Zook and I are pretty close, right? Locks. I mean, there's people here that I know very well that have been around him, and I'm sure it's a very tough day for a lot of people in the building and a lot of people out there that were with him here and during his time and in the NFL as well.
Thanks, Coach.
Bret, with Matt and Xavier out for the spring, who are stepping up as leaders in that room, that DB room, now that obviously you're going through more transition?
Unquestionably, Jeremy, Miles Scott is really just not just maturity wise, not just communication, just really taking it to a different level as far as all that. And then I would just say it's not surprising, but the growth of Mac Resetich from last fall to this fall, his talk is, we always preach communication. His pre-snap, post-snap communication is really, really been at a high level overall. And then I would say, three guys in particular, T. Strain has really jumped into, we put him in the star, the nickel type role, and he's been absolutely awesome. Had a really, really good first 2 weeks here that's been impressive. Elijah McCanto's behind him. And then at the true corner position, Caleb Patterson has really probably been a guy that stood out to me. Aaron may have a different opinion, but for me, he's a guy that's really been conscientious, detailed. He does everything right off the field. His academics, everything's always in order. He's a big, long, rangy safety. Zach Tobey has had a really nice spring as well. Jaheim Clark Juice has really been a nice addition as well. So really those five guys in particular. But I would also say Matt Bailey and Xavier Scott, I know they'd rather be out there. They've really so you guys have been around. It's like if you're a restricted or injured player, you have to wear a green jersey. And for guys that wear green jerseys because they're injured, they really don't like it, right? So we had a practice on Thursday, which we really refrained from contact. It was more of a full speed walk through ASM&M, and we did that because we could get so many guys. Kanena Odalaga, Xavier Scott, Matt Bailey on the offensive side of the ball, both the quarterbacks, Jordan Anderson and Caden Fagan. Just a lot of guys that we couldn't get involved in a regular practice could do that. And in the morning we were having a walk, and I wanted to talk to Matt Bailey because he dies to get out there any rep. And I'm like looking, and I can't see Matt Bailey. I'm looking for a green jersey. And all of a sudden I see a white jersey over the sideline. I'm like, and Matt's got a haircut now. And I'm like, oh, there's Matt Bailey. And he should not be in a white jersey, but he had gone in and somehow finagled his way into getting himself a white jersey so he thought he could go and be a normal guy out of practice. So I quickly corrected that. But he jumps into any drill that we can let him in, and he is barking out from the sideline. He's coaching guys from the sidelines. Him and Xavier are really everything they possibly can do from that role they're in.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep.
Brett, how do you envision this last half of spring ball compared to maybe the first 7 or 8 practices you have?
You
And
know,
maybe,
Matt, the first week is limited because we're only in spiders and helmets, and then on Saturday we could go full go, but there was a coach's clinic, which is still a good practice, but we really didn't put it all out there. Last week, because of Easter weekend, we went Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, so there was a quick turnaround. So Thursday's practice was really limited. Friday was a really good live ass practice. It was a fun practice, a lot of really good things going on. But now these next 3 weeks, we really have an agenda. Even before this whole situation came up, I had known what I wanted to do. We're really concentrating for me on 3 games in particular that are up on our schedule that we played last year: Kansas, Purdue, and Northwestern. Like, we'll look at that specifically in certain situations, not just the game itself, but the situations around it. We get to go 2 full padded practices on Tuesday and Saturday, where we're not just working schemes, not just working plays, but skill sets, right? Like playing with extension, understanding things offensively, defensively. Good football plays are usually the result of good fundamentals, and we really stress that right now. So many young players, J.C. Davis, Melvin Priestley on the offensive line, and really Kevin Wigginton, A.J. Dennis, Brandon Hanson, Brandon Henderson, just guys that just really, you can literally see them grow with every rep. On the defense side, Anthony Johnson, without a doubt, Dennis Briggs, Sledge, Daniel Brown, and the back end, Chase Canada. These guys are just Cole Rusk on the offensive side. Like, it's just phenomenal. Like, I'm not giving ourselves any awards, but the portal was good to us. We got some good players out of that thing. Those guys are really doing some good things. And then, you never know what's going to happen. On the flip side of it, I think it's putting some pressure in this world that we're in. We'll move some guys around. If they're not in our 2 deep or projected to help us at a certain position, they've been here 2 to 3 years. We'll probably, put them in different positions to see what they can do and let them show something to see if they can help us, on the line of scrimmage or in a football playing role than ever before.
just from a calendar quickly, Brett, you don't mean tomorrow, Tuesday, that you're scrimmaging? Is that the following Tuesday?
Well, when I say Tuesday, we'll scrimmage on Saturday, so it's a 6/13/20. I kind of have to, by rule, we have to denote those, right? So those are my denoted scrimmage days. The Tuesdays, this Tuesday, next Tuesday, and the Tuesday after that will be intense physical, hard practices, but they probably won't involve a lot of tackling.
Thank you, Brett.
Yep.
Hey, Brett, just to follow up from earlier, you've mentioned position changes a few times. Are there any you can update us on that have developed in spring ball here?
Yeah, no, nothing big, but like what we got here with J.C. Davis, we thought was a tackle. He's staying at tackle. Kevin Wigginton's worked guard and center. Melvin Priestley's worked guard and tackle. Brandon Henderson has worked tackle and guard. On the defense side of the ball, some guys have worked D end and deep nose tackle. Some guys have worked outside backer, inside backer. Jerry Beatty has worked all inside backer. That's continued to look extremely well, though. He will roll up on line scrimmage. We've moved guys from free safety to boundary safety, a couple guys from corner to star, but nothing to a different position as of right now.
And then you mentioned Donovan a few times. I'm just curious what you've seen from him. It seems like he's got a chance, really good chance right now to step into a pretty good spot here. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, well, first, he's taking advantage of every rep. I don't think there's any doubt. I would say last Tuesday, if you pulled 100, I think we had 110 guys out for spring ball right now. If you pulled 110 guys going off the field who had a day today, those guys would have all said Donovan Leary just threw the ball extremely well. Great timing, great rhythm. Him and Luke, I know, work hand in hand. I'd just love to see the report of that. I know they're competing, right, and they're out there. And obviously, Luke has been our starting quarterback, but I think Donovan is, not holding anything back. I think he's playing with an extremely different rhythm and pace, accuracy, throw, completed some deep balls that were very, very impressive, and just knowing where to go and what to do with the ball. And you can just I swear, I'm not saying he's that much bigger, but he just walks in, his chest is back, his shoulders are high, his head is up. He's very confident in what he's doing. I'm very impressed. I think, as a head coach, you've always said, like, as long as you have a starting quarterback you feel good about, but when you have, a couple quarterbacks that you feel great about, like, you're in a better situation. And he's continued to just really be super impressive. And then that next wave guys too, Kirk Lamishow has been very impressive in the opportunities he got. Trey Petty loves to compete and do what he does. Like, he's got to learn to find our details, but a very impressive guy as well.
Appreciate it, Brett. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.